Marco Rubio announced today that he will be entering the race as well. Now, normally they do the exploratory committees, etc., but Ted Cruz jumped in first on the Republican side, and he acted boldly. Got to give him credit for that, and I did. He didn't go through any of those BS committees that forced Rand Paul's hand, and then Hillary Clinton came in, and as an afterthought, Marco Rubio was like, I meant to come in. Yeah, of course, me too. Hey, look at me, Daddy, look at me. I'm right here. So this is kind of interesting, right? Out of the 3 Republicans who have already announced that they're going to run for president, 2 of them are Cuban American. Isn't that interesting? Well, it's not a coincidence. The reality is that Republicans desperately need the Latino vote, but they're not doing anything to get that Latino vote. So what they're going to do instead is vote for the Latino guy who likely won't do anything for Latinos. That's the best that Republicans can do. That's why 2 out of 3 of them are already Latino. And they both happen to be Cuban because Cubans are the one Latino group in this country that tend to lean Republican. So that's why it's not a surprise. Now, to be fair to Marco Rubio, the one good thing he's done in the Senate is he did argue for immigration reform. He was one of the authors of that, and it did pass the Senate. Now, the Republicans in the House killed it, so we didn't get it, but you do have to give him credit for that. But I guarantee you that as this campaign unfolds, Marco Rubio will back away from that, just like John McCain did back in 2008. He was in favor of immigration reform, and he repudiated his own proposal and said, I was wrong, sorry, I can't believe I was ever reasonable on immigration. My guess is Marco Rubio will do likewise, because once the consultants tell him, no, the Republican base hates any kind of immigration reform. They don't want any immigrants here to stay in the country. They want to kick them out, etc. Now, the overwhelming majority of the country does not agree with that, but the Republican primary voters, who are the most conservative, will want to go in that direction. Now, we'll see if he does that, okay? So he can prove me wrong, and then I'll come back out here and say, you know what, he stuck to his guns, bless his heart. Now, how did he announce? I'm amused by this. Rubio spoke on a conference call with donors before a flashy political rally set for Monday night in Miami. Boy, that's so telling. The first people he announced to were not the press, were not his voters, was not the public. He announced to his real constituency, the donors. Because that is his number one priority. Now, to be fair, it's the number one priority of not only all of the Republicans by a country mile, but also the Democrats. These are the guys who got elected by taking a ton of money. That's how the system runs. And they know if they're going to have any chance of winning, they have to tell the donors who are going to bribe them who they're competing for. I mean, these are all legalized bribes. And they're saying, please, give me your bribes rather than giving your bribes to Ted Cruz or Rand Paul or Jeb Bush. Now, you also have 2 candidates from Florida, Marco Rubio and Jeb Bush, very likely to enter. So there's a lot of rich people in Florida. You're more likely to get the Florida donors because you're from that state. So he's got to rush in and tell the donors, don't give it to Jeb Bush, bribe me instead. This is how sick our system is. Wolf-pack.com to change it. Anyway, he says, I feel uniquely qualified to not just make that argument about the American dream, but to outline the policies that we need to have in order to achieve it. This is a reference to the fact that when growing up, his family was not rich. His mom was a maid. His dad was a bartender. He wound up going to law school and making it. So it's a good story. I got no problem against that. In fact, I like that story a lot. It's just like most Republicans, Marco Rubio would like to burn the bridge right after him. After he crosses the bridge, all their budgets call for cuts to education, and for more tax cuts to the people who've already made it, the incredibly rich. Now, Marco Rubio is not the worst offender in that lot. That's probably why he won't win. But just like the others, he does do the same things. And finally, he said the Republican Party, for the first time in a long time, has a chance in this election to be the party of the future. Just yesterday, we heard from a leader who wants to take us back to yesterday, but I feel that this country has always been about tomorrow. He's, of course, referring to Hillary Clinton. And right now, all the Republican candidates are in the middle of saying, I hate Hillary more than you hate Hillary. Oh, yeah? I don't want to go back to yesterday. She's old. I'm new. She's been in very important positions before. I'm a U.S. senator. Hey, look, Barack Obama was a new U.S. senator when he got elected president. But here he is saying that he's the agent of change against Hillary Clinton, who's for more of the same. Not a bad strategy, just likely not the candidate to execute that strategy best. I would be shocked if Marco Rubio was the presidential candidate for the Republicans. I wouldn't be shocked if he was the VP candidate. So they could say, oh, are you crazy? our VP candidate, which is fairly irrelevant, is a Latino. All Latinos should vote for us. So I think Rubio does have a shot at that. That's about as best as he could hope for.